Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome back to Professional Perspectives, our season 3. And we have a great launching of our new season today. Our guest today is Roshan Nisar. I met him in Vishakhapatnam and am so happy that he gets to launch our series today. He is a career coach and a very passionate educator. He's also an award winner, an academic and literary achiever, as well as a keynote speaker. His invitations to interviews, conventions, symposiums, and other lectures is quite extensive. I won't go through that list, although you're welcome to ask him about them later. He's a trainer. He aids students in preparing for their future careers. He has also been acclaimed by the Vice Chancellor of Andhra University for his commendable contribution to the student community. So we are very pleased to have you today, Roshan. We not only want to hear about your career, but of course, everyone is eager to hear your counsel for our students and our career seekers who are joining us today. So this is kind of like a fireside chat. Anita and I will be asking you questions, Roshan, and then the last 15 minutes or so, we will open it up to our audience to also ask you questions.
Sure, ma'am. Thank you so much for having me over.
You're welcome. Our pleasure. I'm going to find the spotlight somehow and spotlight you right now. Spotlight. Okay, there we go. And I'm going to start the questions because it's probably the most interesting and question that everyone has. And that is, Roshan, could you please tell us how you developed a passion for this type of career coaching and such? And tell us also about your own business. I did forget to mention that he has a business that he's going to tell us about. Over to you and welcome everyone.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. So let me first take a few minutes and dwell on what exactly I do. I run a company called The Leader. The Leader is basically an education and training service provider. Our training usually falls into 4 different segments. The first segment happens to be schools, colleges, and universities. I work with both students and faculty members. Then the second is a few ministries of the various governments of the country. I work extensively with the police department. I train the Delhi police. I train the CRPF,
Wow.
the Central Reserve Police Force. Yeah, I trained the superior officers in critical thinking. That apart, I also worked with SERP, the Society for the Elimination of Rural Poverty, which is actually a sister concern of APARD, the Andhra Pradesh Academy for Rural Development. So I trained the district coordinators in various aspects of their workplace issues. Then the third segment happens to be a few companies. Companies from time to time keep inviting me to speak on various work-related issues, ranging from conflict management all the way through communication, etc. And lastly or finally, I also work with individuals where senior executives, CEOs, vice presidents, AVPs get in touch with me for resume reviews or discussion of their career paths. So this is what I basically do. So my company caters to all of these areas of the spectrum. Then as far as my taking to the training industry or the education industry is concerned, I would simply say it was like a fish taking to water. I was born and raised in a family of educators. My dad, my mom, my grandmom, almost my uncles, my aunts are all educators. So I was born into this intellectual home, and my father played a paramount role in shaping me to become what I am today. So the intellectual inputs that he constantly sowed into me have borne fruit. So my taking to the education and training industry was just like a fish taking to water. It was something which came very naturally to me. Okay, that is one part. The other part is also about my being very fond or passionate about building lives. I've always been fascinated by the idea of making a difference in people's lives, of upholding them, of uplifting them, uh, of being a catalyst in their own pursuit of excellence. So this was one such platform which, on one hand, leveraged my skills, and on the other, provided the scope for me to pursue exactly that which I wanted to pursue, which was making an impact in people's lives. So all these various factors came together in perfect coalescence, and it finally metamorphosed into what it is today.
Wow, that's a lot. That's amazing. So this has actually given rise to a lot of questions in me, but the one question that I'd like to actually start off with is, what is a day like for you?
I've always led a very disciplined life, and that continues today. My day begins at 4:30 a.m. It makes no difference whether it's a Sunday, a public holiday, or a working day. 4:30 a.m. I'm out of bed. 5 a.m. I'm at my work desk, and 10 p.m. lights off. I'm in bed. Exceptions may exist once in a while due to travel or stuff like that, but usually this is my day. I work from 5 a.m. onwards. My clients and students have also got accustomed to working according to this schedule. So they report to their classes by 5 a.m. and my sessions start from 5 a.m. onwards.
Wow, amazing. And
do you
how does
mostly work online or offline? Sorry, Anita.
Both,
No.
both online and offline. When it comes to working one-on-one, it is primarily online. But when it comes to working with colleges, schools, universities, it is offline. As a matter of fact, I just finished a session in a college. I was invited to train their students. I just finished training about the whole batch of MBA students, and I'm now here for an online session. So this is how it is. My work requires both offline and online modes. That being said, I also have clients from about 9 different countries and from across India. So I have no other option but to go online. This is the post-COVID world that we've all got accustomed to. So this is
Yes.
a new world.
Yes. So are you a one-man show or you have a team?
No, nobody, absolutely nobody is a one-man show. I would just like to intervene and submit my ideas here. I've often heard people indulge in braggadocio, gasconading about their being self-made, there being a one-man show and stuff like that. But the fact of the matter is that self-made men or self-made women are mythical. They don't exist in reality. There is no self-made man or self-made woman. Each of us, every one of us, is a byproduct of the contributions of many people, both directly and indirectly. I wouldn't be here if my mentors, my teachers, my friends, my well-wishers, and my critics did not play their own respective roles in getting me to become what I am today. So uh, even my servant maid at home, has played a pivotal role in helping me report to work at the right time. So all of these individuals have played a role both directly and indirectly, and I'm only grateful for the roles that each of them played. So I'm not a self-made man at all. I'm the byproduct of years of learning and years of learning from people who have played indispensable roles in my life.
And speaking of your pathway to where you are today, the man that you have become, can you tell us a little bit about that pathway, education, and any setbacks that maybe you have had that you had to overcome?
I've noticed that many people are taken aback by setbacks. For some reason, it's sad when people tell me that they gave up on their dreams, they gave up on their pursuits because they confronted setbacks. Somehow, these people had this a rather erroneous or fallacious notion that everything is going to be hunky-dory and it is going to be a walk in the park. That is not how entrepreneurship actually unfolds. Setbacks, difficulties, hindrances are all part of the game, just part of the game. Now, if everyone stopped cycling the moment he fell off a bike, I really wonder whether the world would have actually had any cyclists left. None of us would have been a cyclist at all. The world would not have cyclists at all. So wisdom lies in the fact that we realize that setbacks, difficulties, challenges are all failures, etc. Financial failures as well are all part of the game. So it doesn't really matter how many times you fall. What matters is how many times you rise after you fall. Number two, it also matters that you've learned your lesson from the fall. Why did you actually fall in the first place? What were the reasons you fell? Okay. And what lessons do you actually take from that fall? How are you going to apply yourself to these areas and bring about alteration or modification in the style of functioning? And how are you going to be different from what you were yesterday? As the philosopher Heraclitus said, no man steps into the same river twice. We really need to understand that the world around us is in a state of flux. So if it is in a state of flux, the question is, am I keeping with that change or not? So if I fall, the lesson I need to learn is simply stand up and continue. For me, it really doesn't matter whether you crawl or you run or you jump or you walk or you saunter, but keep moving in the right direction.
Well, can you tell us about a time when you had a setback personally, or is that too personal?
No, not at all, not at all. Setbacks with reference to my, I was an employee at a point of time. I served an organization for 7 long years. I went the extra mile. I did more than what the organization even required of me. So I had the sense of ownership that this was my bounden duty. This is what I'm supposed to contribute, and this is how I should play a pivotal role. And I did play a pivotal role in building that organization and contributing to the growth and development of that organization. After having done competitive analysis, price variance analysis, market research, etc., helped the organization open branches in other areas, took up underperforming branches, looked at their sister organizations that weren't actually doing well, which were actually functioning as sick businesses. I did an awful lot in terms of turning things around. And then years later thereafter, I expected some kind of appreciation or a salary hike or a position, increase in position, etc. But then my boss said that it was not because of my contribution, but because of the brand as a company itself. I very humbly submitted that it is people who build the brand of a company, and it is not the company itself that is self-dependent. So things went haywire, and then finally I had to plunge into entrepreneurship. And I'm glad that this incident actually transpired in my life, because until then, I had this rather fantastic or incorrect idea about entrepreneurship. I always told myself that one day when I have sufficient bank balance, that day I will quit my job and step into entrepreneurship. Until I realized that when you have a vision and you have the skills required to deliver that vision, you simply start. It's as simple as that. There is no reason why you should wait for a specific date to start what you want to start. So if you have a dream, go there and live it. It's as simple as that. So then finally I plunged into entrepreneurship, and then it's been a fantastic ride ever since then. The ride of learning, constantly learning, improving, challenging yourself, so on and so forth. So that was my setback, and that's how I coped with it.
Wow. Is there anything that no one knows about you?
The one thing that people do not know about me is the effort that I've actually put into what I've become today. Sometimes in my conversations with students, I often hear them make remarks such as, "Sir, your life is all set. You lead this, uh, you know, uh, this life of your dreams. So it is all so wonderful for you." They speak as though all these things unfolded by default. They somehow do not capture the fact that I burnt midnight oil to become what I am today, number one. Number two, they don't realize the importance or the significance of being consistent with what you actually want to master. If there is a skill you want to master, if there is a dream you want to fulfill, if there is a life that you want to lead, if there's a goal you want to reach, you have to necessarily be consistent day in and day out. Have your eyes transfixed on your goal and do not waver. So, people do not know these things about me. Okay, and another thing that people do not know about me, most people do not know, is that I'm a person who loves to have fun. I love going to jungles. I love trekking. I love mountaineering. Somehow, the other folk have this uh, distorted idea about me that I'm one who is always with my face in my books. As much as I love to read, I am also out there in jungle. So from time to time, I go on long treks. One of my the longest trek I ever went on was for 11 days. So 10 nights and 11 days, I was in the jungle.
Wow.
On,
In
on one
India?
night, I had a Yes, in India, yes. On one night, a bear ate up my food. So I had no dinner that night because a bear ate up my food. So I put my rucksack with all my food there, went into my tent. When I came back, it was all ripped apart, and I saw bear running down the mountain. So I knew who exactly ate up my food. So this
Wow.
is
So
one thing.
I often tell my students that people's hobbies can be very insightful as to their character, and that says
Yeah,
a lot about you and your adventurous spirit. And
yeah, yes.
there are two things we'd like to hear your opinion about as far as their relevance for job seeking. That is, tell us what you think is the role of education and the role of language.
Okay. Education helps you develop your subject matter expertise in the field that you want to function in. For example, if I want to be a specialist in supply chain management, my education will help me understand the aspects of of supply chain management. But ultimately, if I'm not able to apply that knowledge, or if I'm not able to communicate that knowledge to others, then all of that knowledge is of no use at all. How does it matter if I'm a subject matter expert who is not able to communicate or transfer that knowledge to others and replicate that expertise in the lives and the work of other individuals? It is of no use at all. So language is absolutely indispensable to excellence at the work front. If you are able to get your ideas across, if you're able to influence others, if you're able to lead others, if you're able to impact others, if you're able to train others, that is fantastic. And that cannot be done without the help of language.
Okay.
Yeah, that's beautiful, actually. So, if you were to guide students, if you were to share things with them, or to tell them this is what and how, what would you recommend to them?
The first thing I would ask students to do is have a vision, develop a vision, have a dream, have a goal, get to know where you are heading and why you are heading in that direction. That is step number one. The biggest problem I find with a lot of students is that they have no clue of what they want to do. They just are absolutely clueless. And tragically, most of them do not even know why they opted for the courses that they actually opted for. That is the fundamental problem. So, step one, have a vision, identify your calling in life. What is it that you actually want to be? Are you able to look into the future of what you want to be, where you want to be? That's one. Step two, list out all the skills required for accomplishing that goal, achieving that target, and living that life. Step number three, introspect. Ask yourself how many of those skills you actually possess. Enlist those skills which you possess and those that you do not. Hone the skills that you possess and imbibe the skills that you do not possess. Enroll for certifications if need be. Identify a career coach if need be. Talk to people from the industry if need be. But ensure that you have all of those criteria that would help you deliver in the areas that you intend to build a career in.
So thank you for that, because it really reinforces some things that I do teach in my English for employability class. And so how important is a resume in order to express some of those things, those objectives and those experiences and those skills that you have?
Absolutely indispensable. There is no alternative to this. Even if you were the most experienced individual in that specific field with a lot of laurels under your belt, think of it, all of it will come to a grinding halt if you did not display what you did. How would anyone know who you are if you do not tell them who you are? Number one. Number two, in the job market, there are some lakhs and lakhs of job seekers. Okay. So irrespective of who you are, even if you do have somebody's recommendation, they would still ask you to share your resume so they know who you basically are. So in the job market, which is fraught with some lakhs of job seekers, the question is, are you gaining traction? Are you gaining visibility? Otherwise, all of your subject matter expertise, your awards, your accomplishments, your certifications, your knowledge, etc., will come to an absolute grinding halt. So it is imperative that you have a resume that augurs well for you, that portrays you in the right light. Let me explain this to you. Very often, senior executives who get in touch with me tell me that they are receiving lowball offers. For instance, if the individual is worth 75 lakhs in the market, he receives offers for just about 40 or 45 lakhs. So very clearly, there is a discrepancy between what he deserves and what he receives. Now, let's analyze the situation. Why is he getting these lowball offers? He is getting these lowball offers on account of their misperception of who he is. Okay. Now, that misperception reality is a product of own misprojection. I could be an Audi, but if you look like an you could be an Audi, but if you look like an Alto, nobody would be willing to pay the price of an Audi to buy you, metaphorically speaking. So are you being that needs to be answered? So a resume, absolutely yes. There is no alternative to that.
And of course, I have students who are getting ready to graduate with their bachelor's degree, and they feel that they don't have enough skills and experience. And of course, I try to encourage them that they do. They just have to, search their lives for things that they've learned from different experiences. Do you have any specific, advice for freshers?
Yeah. You need to ask yourself how it is you are going to contribute towards fulfilling the objectives of that company. Please understand that the entire recruitment process is about them and not about you. You as in the job seeker. It is not about the job seeker. It is all about the company. All recruitment hinges on one of two assumptions. Assumption number one, taking so-and-so on board will help me make greater profit, either directly or indirectly. Assumption number two, taking so-and-so on board will help me in the worst case scenario, retain the current levels of profit I have. So owing to the fact that all recruitment is a form of problem solving, you have to necessarily come across as a viable solution for them. If you fail to come across as a viable solution, don't expect any interview call from them. So ask yourself what skills you bring to the table. Ask yourself what kind of projects you actually dealt with. Is there any common function or common ground between what you did and what you intend to do? How will your knowledge or your undergraduate degree help you fulfill not your dreams, but the objectives of the company? I've heard a lot of freshers often say, I want to be hired because I have such and such dream that I want to fulfill. That's good for you, but that is not a reason for them to hire you. No company is going to hire you because you want to fulfill your own dream. Okay, so don't tell the recruiter that you have some unfulfilled dreams or that you have some goals that you want to fulfill and therefore he should recruit you. That is no reason for him to recruit you at all. You're fulfilling your own dreams is your own personal battle. At the end of the day, when the lights are turned off and you snuggle in bed, each of us has his or her own songs to sing and his or her own battles to fight. So it's for you, it's your battle, you fight it out. It's your song, you sing it. So if you have a goal for yourself, well, do everything in your wherewithal to fulfill that dream, but don't expect people to hire you so you may fulfill your own dream. That's not going to happen. That's an unrealistic expectation to begin with in the first place.
I am thinking now as a student, how do I really choose? Because I'm interested in this thing, that thing, and that thing. So how do I really go about choosing what I really am good, fit for, and what will really help me?
Okay. There are two ways in which you could approach this question. If this problem is really unnerving, if it is unsettling and it is and you feel bogged down by this quandary, then seek professional counseling. Seek the assistance of a career counselor. Get a SWOT analysis done. Get an intelligence test done. Get to know what your RISEX score is. Figure out what you're cut out for, what personality type you have. Then enlist the kinds of careers that you are eyeing, and then do a mapping between these two. There's a scientific process of career counseling. So if the problem is really unnerving, I would strongly recommend that you sign up for a career counseling program. If any of you is interested, feel free to touch base with me, because I also happen to be a career counselor apart from being a career coach. So you could do that. That is one option that you have. The other option, if it is a mere dilemma between two or more options, that I don't know whether I should do X or I should do Y, simply ask yourself what the consequence of that decision is. Okay. Now, for example,
that's definitely critical thinking. Thinking about the consequences. Yeah.
Yeah, because every choice you make in your life, be it personally or professionally, will come with a consequence. Every decision you take, every choice you make will come with a consequence. You cannot embrace a choice and then try and eschew the consequence. The consequence is a corollary to the choice you've made. So if you are wondering whether or not to make such a choice, all you need to do is shift your vision to the consequence of that choice. Is this what I really want to do? Now, let me cite my own example. Apart from what I am today, I also have a few hobbies. Apart from the professional side, there are a few hobbies that I pursue. One of those hobbies happens to be cooking. So at one point of time, my mom suggested that I pursue hotel management. Okay. And I was wondering, why not hotel management? Because I'm anyhow fond of cooking and it is one of my hobbies. And on the other hand, I also qualified in terms of, fitness, etc., for induction into the armed forces. So I was wondering, I had these three choices. Should I get into the armed forces because I meet the requirements? Or should I get into hotel management because I'm fond of cooking? Okay. Or should I get into this. So this was a quantity which I had many years ago when I was a student. So then I asked myself this question. I said, am I fond of cooking? Yes, I am. But can I actually visualize myself doing nothing but cooking from morning till evening in a kitchen? No, definitely not. The answer was a resounding no. So once in a while, I don't mind calling friends over, calling family over, cooking for them, making salads, preparing dishes, and then having a good time with all of them. But is that what I would actually want to do on a daily basis? The answer was a resounding no. And then, as far as the joining the armed forces was concerned, although I did meet the criteria in terms of fitness, and I have always been, somebody who pursued fitness at a personal level, it was at conflict with my convictions. So I knew that is not what I really wanted to pursue. And my mom was anyhow, hell bent on mine not joining the armed forces at all. She said no. So that was also, a factor which played a role in decision making. So I knew, so I found answers to my own questions. So the point I'm trying to establish is this: very often people are, entrapped in a quandary simply because they are myopic. All they are looking at is the options before them without actually considering the aftermath of these choices. If I choose X, I will be doing Y. Is it Y that I actually want to do? No, therefore X is not my choice. Cross it off.
Okay.
I hope my answers are making sense to the listeners.
I think so. And we're
yeah.
I think so. And we'll soon open it up to our audience. But I have to ask you this.
Yes,
do you have any regrets about your career or things that you changed your mind about? Do you have any regrets?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Given a chance, I would love to do this all over again. So I love doing what I've been doing. No regrets at all about the choices I've made. If you talk about regrets, sometimes it occurs to me that I should have perhaps started much earlier. My foray into the digital world, especially owing to the fact that I started a YouTube channel, got onto LinkedIn, etc., only in the post-COVID era. Pre-COVID, I was not on any digital platform at all. I had no online presence. So the only regret perhaps would be that I did not start much earlier. But anyway, better late than never. I'm here.
Now, I happen to know that you have two lovely children. Is it difficult to find time for them?
No, not at all. My leading a balanced life and a very disciplined life helps me cater to the various responsibilities. And being a father of two children, raising them up is wonderful. I really enjoy my role as a father and a parent. So it's all about effective time management. So I wake up way before they do, and I take my responsibilities with open hands and open arms. So I have no regrets there at all. I love doing what I'm doing.
That's great. And I'm glad you mentioned the time management thing. Anita, one more question before we open it up to our audience.
Yes. I would also like to know any aha moment that you've had.
The aha moments, sometimes, when you look at all these awards and recognitions and all of these things, you feel good about it. But then it is maturity that gets me to say, focus on your work. Let people keep making their own admirations, criticisms, etc. But ensure that none of these things shifts your focus or diverts your attention from your goals. So I have my eyes fixed on what it is, is required of me and what I'm supposed to do. Let the admirations come and the criticisms come.
So one word to describe you.
Oh, very passionate educationist. Passionate.
That's two words, but that's okay.
Passionate. One phrase would be a passionate educationist.
Fabulous, fabulous. Over to you, Vicky.
Yes. Okay. Well, I think probably the most for many of the students and teachers here amongst us, probably they were very much interested, I'm sure, in your strategizing and your layout of what's most important. And for me, thank you, because you reinforce the things that I've been saying to many of my students. So let's do that. Let's have some questions from all of you who are joining us today. Just, you can either raise your hand or you can just unmute. Let's start with Lipsa.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, ma'am. I have a question. I guess is a very layman question, but I would still ask. As you said, when you have 2-3 choices of choosing a career, then you have to ask yourself and then cross the rest of the options. But I always have this doubt. What if I chose the one which I want to do now, and when I later do it, I regret the choice? Will going back and choosing the other option a good choice or a good decision to make?
Okay, is that all?
Yes.
Okay. I need to have specifics about the choice you made, number one. Number two, I also need specifics on why you made that choice. In other words, was it a well-informed decision that you took? Very often, youngsters take or make career choices not out of conviction, not out of thoughtful consideration, but off the hook. They take these choices peremptorily. They do not actually impulsively. I'm sorry. They take these choices impulsively. They have not considered the consequence. They've not considered what they've actually signed up for. And once they step into it, they say, "Oh well, this is not what I actually signed up for." Okay. So, is your choice, well considered or not? Number one. Number two, is your decision well informed or not? These are questions that you have to answer. Secondly, if presuming that your choice was well informed and well considered, don't don't be so wavering or so indecisive about what you actually decided upon. Press on, move on with what you decided. He who stands for nothing falls for anything, a Chinese proverb says. So if you are convinced that you made the right choice, stick on. He who puts his hand on the plow and looks back is not worthy of the call. Okay, so press on with what you chose and then pursue that. If you're lacking somewhere, figure out where it is you're lacking, why you're lacking, and do the needful to bridge the gaps.
Let me ask you something, because I have many students over the past few years who have just decided to do what their parents want them to do. What is of course I'm an American. I have strong opinions about that. I'm sure, and Anita, as a psychologist, has a strong opinion about that. Well, what do you say about that, Roshan, for students who just say, I'm going to do, because I want to make my parents proud, and so I'm going to do what my parents think I should do?
Everyone is cut out for an entirely different task. There's a short story. Let me share the story. I'm sure they will find this appealing. There's this father elephant who's having a conversation with his baby elephant, with his son. And he says, when I was a child, I always dreamt of flying. And I could never succeed. So it is my hope, my dream, that you would fulfill my unfulfilled dream. Look at our neighbor's son, the eagle. Look at how high his son flies. And I hope that you will fulfill my dream. And this baby elephant says, don't worry, I will give my best. I will fly one day. Now, I'm sure there are quite a few baby elephants listening to me at this very moment as we speak. it is imperative that we understand what our limitations are and what our strengths actually are. There is no point pursuing careers or courses which are so wrongly built or built on our weaknesses, while ignoring all of those wonderful opportunities that stem from our strengths. So I would encourage parents to not burden their wards with their own unfulfilled dreams, etc., with their own frustrations. Don't look at your son or your daughter as a means of fulfilling your unfulfilled dreams. That is not the purpose of his existence. Every individual has a specific set of skills. So each of us is blessed with uniqueness. So identify your own calling, which may be at variance with your parents' callings, or with your father's calling or your mother's calling. Okay, and pursue that which you want to do. Ultimately, you will collapse under their weight if you try and step into shoes which are not cut out for you. And you will have a tough time walking, let alone running, which in
Thank
shoes which
you.
are not meant for you. Try doing that literally in the literal sense of the word, and you will understand what I'm talking about.
Okay. Next question. This is a unique opportunity to talk to a career coach. So please feel free to ask any question. Remember, there's no silly question.
Okay, this is for the information of all the listeners. I create content on 3 different platforms. I create content on career development, uh, job search, career advancement, etc., on LinkedIn. So those of you all who are looking for content on these areas, I talk about resume, I talk about job search methods, I talk about interviews, etc., on LinkedIn. I create posts literally every day on LinkedIn, so you can read that content there. My content is always very crisp, precise, and concise. So it will not take you more than 40 seconds or a minute to read my content on LinkedIn. Then those of you all who are preparing for competitive exams, be it Bank PO or RRB or CAT, GMAT, GRE, etc., can follow me on Instagram. I create content on test taking strategies on Instagram. So you can read my, you can watch my videos there. Then
I
on
heard you speak
YouTube, I
on test.
create.
Just 1 second before you go to the YouTube. I heard one of your lectures once on test taking strategies. It was phenomenal. So and I really think strategies are the
Thank
most
you.
important, so that you can identify what it is that you know, what it is that you don't know. So oops, hold on, I'll mute her. Okay. So anyway, go ahead. I just wanted to give you a kudo
Thank
on
you.
that
Thank you
because
so much.
I heard one of your lectures once. Go ahead about the
Thank
YouTube,
you.
your YouTube channel.
That's about the second. Then the third, I create content on personal development, motivation, relationships, and parenting on YouTube. YouTube is my very recent foray into social media. I started this channel just about a few 2 or 3 months ago. So those of you all who are looking for content on personal development, motivation, relationships, and parenting can subscribe, can watch these videos. And if you enjoy the videos, consider subscribing as well. So based on the objective that you are trying to fulfill, you can find relevant content.
Thank you.
Any questions on examination strategies or how to excel in education and stuff like that? Anyone there with such questions?
There's a question in the chat. How do I become a business analyst?
Start with a course. Firstly, more fundamentally, ask yourself, pursue the subject matter expertise required for you to actually be able to analyze businesses. And then what do you want to do with that analysis? Become a market researcher or get into consulting? What is the end result? Okay, so business analysis or business analytics can be pursued as part of the various courses. In fact, the Indian Institutes of Management have both specialized certificate programs and also the comprehensive PGPM, postgraduate program in management, that you could pursue. So once you do that, you will have the subject matter expertise to deliver in this specific area of business analysis.
Manish?
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, sir and ma'am. I have one question. I do not make a balance in professional life and professional life and passionate dream and present life. I do not make a balance. Do you have any ideas, sir? Please suggest them.
Discipline. Start with discipline. One of the reasons why people do not have a balance between professional life and personal life is lack of discipline. Every day I enjoy personally, and I also deliver professionally. So it all begins with discipline, number one. Number two, it is imperative that you also be well organized. Ensure that your day is well organized. If you are well organized and you have specific time for specific activities, you also mentally become ready. For instance, I am very highly productive in the mornings. My mind is tuned to learning because for n number of years now, I've been accustomed to waking up at 4:30 in the morning, early in the morning, and starting off my day with reading a book. It could be a book I read, it could be a lecture I listen to. How I get that is secondary. The means is secondary. But let me put it this way, my day begins with learning. So my mind is now alert. It absorbs very quickly. Okay, 9:45 p.m. is the time when I'm least productive in the day because I'm already half asleep. I'm drowsy. So 9:45, you will never find me reading a book at 9:45 p.m. because none of it is going to get into my head. Because my mind, my body clock has now set itself in such a way that my mind is alert at a specific point of time and is inactive at another point of time. So it's all about discipline. I've lived that kind of disciplined life, and so now my mind is also tuned to learning and resting at specific points of time. And then again, evenings, my mind is ready for fun because it knows that this is time for games, so badminton or a walk in the jungle or a drive, whatever. But my mind knows that this is the time for fun. So there is that expectation. If, just as we start having pangs of hunger at a specific point of time during the day, especially when we are accustomed to eating, it is the same thing with the mind as well. So when the clock strikes 5, my mind is already hungry for learning. It has to learn something new. That's how it works. So
yeah, and I think the next question,
orderliness.
Yeah, I think the next question is kind of related to that. So I'm going to interject here. Someone is asking how to improve concentration. I think it's kind of related to that same idea, but do you want to add to that about how to increase concentration? You want to add to that?
Yeah. What is distracting you from pursuing what it is you're trying to pursue? Okay. In most cases, it is indiscipline or it is distraction. For example, one of the problems that people have in today's world is their own mobile phones. Okay, their phones keep buzzing, people keep texting. And I know some students who sit down and tell themselves, now I'm going to actually study. And then the phone buzzes. And then they say, okay, it's just one text. Or it's just one game. And before they know it, half an hour or 45 minutes have already been spent, or more than that. So identify your distractions. Remove those distractions from your learning environment. Okay. When you do that, it will all fall in place. Also, try and have an accountability partner or a study partner. There is a lesser room for distraction when you are with somebody than there is when you're all alone. There are a lot of youngsters listening to me, so I'm sure you would relate to this very easily. when you're all alone and you have the internet at your fingertips and you think of studying, you are putting yourself in a vulnerable state. Now there is such a huge window of distraction, websites you want to visit, videos you want to watch, okay, content you want to dwell on at inappropriate times. So there is greater scope for temptation when you're all alone. Now, the simple question is this: would you have still visited that website, or would you have still watched that video if you were with somebody next to you? The answer is, very unlikely. So now there is lesser scope for distraction when you are with a study partner or an accountability partner. So group yourself, find someone you could study with, and then study together. That would improve your effectiveness.
And one last question here about
provided the underlying assumption there is that he or she is like-minded, that he or she is also there to sit and study. If he is busy playing games and you're trying to study, that is, two rotten eggs are not going to make one good omelet. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes,
I'm not sure I understand this
to...
question, Ramani, but it's something about competitive exams. And do you recommend reading comprehension for competitive exams? Perhaps you understand that question better than I do.
I understand. Okay, what books or tips do you recommend for reading comprehension for competitive exams? A book that you could get a hold of is How to Read Better and Faster by Norman Lewis. The same gentleman who also penned the book How to Build a Better Vocabulary, or Word Power Made Easy. I think one of those. Anyway, so get a hold of the book How to Read Better and Faster by Norman Lewis. That would definitely be an excellent book to start with. Having said that, make a conscious effort to read as fast as you can when you start reading. Now, let me talk about one of the most common problems that students have with the section of reading comprehension. They start reading the passage, and somewhere down the line, they realize that they have long drifted off. Their minds just wandered into, a reverie, a daydream. And now they say, oh, I have to get back to my reading. So they don't even know when their minds have actually drifted off. Let me give you a very simple example. I'm sure you must have seen this vision, especially this site, especially in India. It's a pretty common site. You must have seen two people riding their motorbikes and having a conversation with each other while riding. It's a pretty common sight to behold. Not so much in foreign countries, but definitely in India. You see two people riding two different motorbikes and having a conversation, enjoying the ride all along the road. Now, why are they able to do that? They're able to do that because they're moving, number one, at a very slow pace. Okay. And number two, they're also able to do that because they're driving on an unsnarled road. Now, simple question: would they have still been able to do that if they were each driving at a speed of 120 kilometers per hour? Definitely not. Definitely not. They couldn't have possibly even done any of that. It's the same thing here as well. So when you read very slowly at a slow pace, there is greater scope for your mind to drift into daydreaming or whatever. Now, develop the conscious effort to read as fast as you possibly can. Initially, you may not comprehend everything that you're reading, but sooner or later, your mind will get accustomed to that pace, and you would be able to comprehend what you're reading. So as far as the book is concerned, I've given you the title of the book. As far as practice is concerned, I just told you what to do.
Okay, thank you. We want to stick to our time schedule and not hold you up. We try to be as punctual as we can. So I want to just take this opportunity to thank you so much, Roshan, for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us, for sharing your expertise. And we would like to take a picture if we could.
Sure.
And somebody is also asking you for your Instagram, what do you call it? Instagram
ID.
Sorry, address? What is it?
Handle.
Handle. Thank you. I knew that there. Yes. Okay, so I'm also going to ask you to turn your videos on very quickly and remind my students to stay online with me while everybody else exits, and we'll complete our class. Roshan put it in his handle in the chat. Okay, so look at the chat and you can get that. All right, so I'm just going to count to 3, please. Please turn your videos on so we have a nice picture to send to Roshan.
You're welcome,
Don't.
Navya.
Okay, all right, so I will count now. 1, 2. We still have a lot of names and no faces. I'll count again. 1, 2, 3. Thank you. All right. Well, thank you again, Roshan, so much. And I'm sure you'll have some new followers on Instagram and YouTube. Please follow us as well, Roshan. Follow the SJCLC.
I think I already am, man.
All right. Good, good. And good to see you all. Thank you for joining us this week. We also have Readers Theater on Friday, and next Monday we will have Professional Perspectives once again with someone who you might want to talk to about branding. So that will be very interesting. There's our handle in the chat. Oops, I forgot to stop the recording.